So in piglet, you are talking about also how to feed piglet after birth. So you've got the first crib feed under the sows, then you've got the winter diets and so on, and you've got two stages, very often I would say. Do people are thinking about having even more phase feeding after, or would that be realistic?
Let's say when you move the piglets to the fattening house.
Yeah.
So when you are weaning earlier, 3 weeks is possible. They are 6 kilos. And then they have at least 3 phase feeding.
Mm-hmm.
But when you wean at 4 weeks and 8 kilos, I think most farmers,
have two.
when you put pigs at 23 kilos, 25 maybe, to the fattening house, they have 2.
Yeah.
Normally 2 phase feeding.
And there is no way to improve in that phase. There is still some room of improvement in that phase. In fact, instead of 2 phase, maybe 3 phase and so on, to be more close to the requirement of the piglets and so on.
It's not really smart to do this horizontal cut, so going from one diet to the next to the third. I'll show you a better idea.
Evolution during the growth of the animal. So I'll let that for the afternoon.
I think we don't need more than 3 silos for the sow for the entire reproductive cycle, but they need to be split they need to be split horizontally, not vertically. To better.
So there are some ways. In other words, there are some ways still to improve, in fact, the efficacy of the sow and piglet production. So just to conclude, if each one can give some idea.
I think we just forgot one way to improve piglet robustness or quality at birth. We didn't talk about genetic.
Yeah.
We know that the survival rate of piglets decreased when we increase the size of the litters by genetic. And we know also that we can now select sows not on the number of live of born piglets, but on the number of weaned piglets, for example. So this shows that genetic has a big role to play also to increase the robustness of the piglets, either at birth or at weaning.
Yeah. And there is still, because with a representative of Denmark, in fact, with quite a high level of production, or Netherlands, and we know that in Europe we are quite at a high level, but there are still some countries where there is a big improvement still for the number of piglets weaned per sow and so on. There is still some, even with roughly the same genetic background, you still have quite a lot of influence of the management, swine management.
I don't know how the people working there. Sometimes they come from different countries, speaking different languages. The labor cost, the climate sometimes is a problem to get potential. So that different issues. Sometimes people are not focusing on a reason for a problem. They cover it with medication, antibiotics, and you see it's still okay. But if you do not have that anymore in future, like in the Netherlands, we are reducing antibiotics with 50 to 60% already compared to 2009. And since this year also zinc oxide is not allowed anymore. So people have to think, why is it not as I wanted?
Yeah.
Why is that diarrhea happening? And then they try to solve the reason for the problem. So if you have that a few years, your know-how of your workers is different as when you lay back and everything is already going.
Yeah. So just to conclude, if each of you has one word to say, okay, what could be the future for the piglet and the sows, research, development, question and practice. So maybe Peter and Elodie first.
I would say go to the concept of 2-component feeding. 2 different components each meal that are supplied to the sow, so they are matched much better according to the requirements.
To the requirement of the animal during the life cycle. Elodie, how the piglets?
I think that at least for European production, I think that the future is not trying to push the animal to the limits and even further and further than the genetic limits and physiological limits of the animals. And maybe we will have to take into consideration the litter size. Maybe it's not a good idea to increase always this litter size. Maybe it's not a good idea to try to wean piglet earlier and earlier. And I think that a lot of systems are developing, organic systems, but also other alternative systems that are more respectful of the animal and of the physiological limits of the animals. And I think that this is probably the future for European productions.
Thank you, Elodie. And Hard.
Yeah, I think I see also already coming up more concepts. Let's say the market says what we have to produce. So some farmers, they like biological, ecological systems, they pay more for it. That can be part of the market, so we invest maybe in higher survivability, more square meters and more welfare. But there's also a market that doesn't want to pay for it. It's just an economical bulk production. So for this type of farmer, maybe you have a different type of management. I think we have to look to what the market wants, the genetic interaction. Different genetics require different feeding. And are you working with less antibiotics or not? How is the infection pressure? So that the market is in a matrix, let's say, depending on what the market wants, but you have to know how to get there. That's why we need research, of course, but the market tells us what we have to produce.
Yeah, and maybe we can think that in the future the evolution will be the same. In fact, or we are going towards the same type of evolution for the different countries. It's like the antibiotic growth promoters. In fact, the ban is spreading over the world and so on. So today, I'm sure that more and more people will be concerned by the piglet welfare, by the piglet quality, by the management and so on. So I would like to thank all of you for your contribution to this little debate today. And we are excited to listen to the presentation this afternoon of Peter and Elodie. Thank you very much.